Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's check out this small folding electric bike from AYOLNY. This one is called the EB1C. The bike weighs in at just 49 pounds. It does have small 14-inch wheels. You do get a suspension in the rear on this one, and it does have a nice soft cushy seat as well. The bike does come with a keyed ignition, so you can take that key out for security. It does have a full twist throttle. They do say this motor in the rear can peak out at 1,000 watts. We will try that out, and it does come with a 7.8 amp hour 36 volt battery. They do say it can give you up to 15 miles of range on throttle only or 25 miles on pedal assist. We will try the bike out and see how it does. You do get an auto sensing headlight up front, and you do get a tail light and brake light in the rear. There is just one brake lever on the bike, and that controls a drum brake in the front. The bike has electric motor braking in the rear. They do say this bike can fit riders of up to 264 pounds, but personally I do think this bike is going to be much better for smaller riders. All right guys, I am 6 foot tall with 32-inch inseams. Let me show you how I fit on the bike. Pretty easy to step over. The seat on this one is nice and soft, and this rear suspension is pretty soft as well. It does have a little squeak to it. The handlebars are fully adjustable here. You can drop them way down. You can bring them up to about here, which is a good height for me at 6 foot tall. I'm actually pretty comfortable on this small bike. It does have a click bell and a reflector over here on the side. There is a set of pedals on the bike, but it just has the one gear in the back, so these pedals are just going to be more useful to help you get going on some steeper hills. The seat post is 28.6 millimeters. The seat does have some nice big springs on it, so it's going to be pretty cushy, guys. I'll show you the seat on the minimum insert line. Right there. Now let me put it all the way down. There is a reflector here, so you can only put it down so far with that reflector on. But if you put the handlebars and the seat all the way down, this bike is pretty small. One more thing about the bike is it does have folding handlebars, so you can fold these over, pop the lock. Then you can take the seat off and you can fit this bike in the trunk of your car or something like that. So this is a very compact bike when you fold it up. All right, everybody, let's take this EB1C out for a ride. All right, everyone, I'm out here on the AYOLNY EB1C electric bike. Let's hop on here. This does have the full twist throttle. We're gonna check the speed. I do have the speed app open. Let's check our acceleration while we're at it here. Of course, this is not gonna be any sort of fire-breathing dragon or anything like that. Let's see what it can do. All right, gets you moving. We'll see what this thing tops out at before the battery gets low. It's pretty level right through here. I am 215 pounds. I'm definitely oversized for the bike. All right, we're pushing 19 miles an hour on the GPS, and I do believe that's about all the speed it's going to give me. They do say this peaks out at 1,000 watts. I pretty much have my doubts about that. We'll see if it can climb this hill right here. Dropping down. And I can tell you this bike definitely does not peak out 1,000 watts. Any 750 watt bike can climb this hill, no problem. And this one is dropping down. So yeah, they exaggerate the claims a little bit on the power of the bike. It did get us up the hill, but it dropped down to about 3 or 4 miles an hour. So let's go back and run that one more time. We'll do it a little bit different. When you're riding a bike like this, when you do your hill climbs, you're probably gonna have to put in a little bit of your own pedaling torque to get up the hills in a decent amount of time. If you are a lighter rider, like say 150 pounds or something like that, this thing's gonna have a much better hill climbing ability compared to what it's doing with a 215 pound rider on it. This time I'm gonna put in some pedaling. We do have this little set of pedals on here. One thing you wanna do when you get this bike out of the box, when you put the pedals on, go ahead and check the torque on the pedal crank arms. They were loose on this bike. It takes a 14 millimeter socket. You tighten up those pedal crank arms before you take the bike out. Otherwise, when you start pedaling, those crank arms are gonna come loose on you. So just double check all the tightness of all the bolts when you get the bike out of the box. So now we're climbing the hill and I'm doing a little pedaling. So bringing us on up. A little bit better than throttle only. As far as the pedaling speed, at 15 miles an hour, you're pedaling pretty fast here. So really, you're only gonna wanna pedal this bike up to about 10 miles an hour. Those pedals are on there pretty much just to help you get up some hills. Add a little bit of your own extra torque in there, you know. So the overall feel of the bike is nice and smooth. It does have the 14-inch tires. The tires are street tread pattern, so they ride nice and smooth on the road here. So it can pretty easily cruise between 15 and 18 miles an hour. They do say it tops out at 22 miles an hour. It might top out at 22 miles an hour with a smaller rider. What I want to do today on this ride is I'm going to take this bike to town and back. They say it has a 15-mile range. I'm not going to max out the speed all the way because I want to make sure I can get to town and back. So I'm actually running 15 miles an hour here. We'll see if this bike can take me to town and get me back home. Still have a little bit of life left in the battery. We'll check out the brakes here in a minute. It does have a drum brake on the front, and it does have the electronic braking through the motor on the rear. So you only get one brake lever here. It actually feels like it stops pretty good. That electric motor braking does really slow the bike down. Regardless of power, the bike is relatively easy to pedal since it does have the small tires. You only get this one gear though. Let's do a brake test here from the end of this pavement. I'm gonna pull it from about the max speed it's giving me right now, about 15 miles an hour. Ready? Let's go. All right, so no drama on the braking. Took a little bit longer than usual, took about 25 feet there from about 15 miles an hour. Like I said, it only has the drum brake on the front and the electronic braking in the rear. So it definitely brought the bike to a stop from about 15, but it definitely was not super impressive on the braking. But at these speeds that this bike can go, it's just fine. On the road again. I will tell you, the seat is fairly comfortable on this bike. It's got kind of a nice squishy seat. This bike actually has suspension in the rear, and it's a real soft ride. You guys can see how much bounce it has in it. So I'm not gonna complain about the comfort of the bike at all. And even me being 6 foot tall, I fit on this bike perfectly fine. Let's cut through the park here. Since the bike does have this rear suspension, actually feels all right. Power-wise, it's not really got enough power to do off-roading. You're gonna have to put in some of your own pedaling. It's definitely not 1,000 watts peak as they claim on their website, so don't fall for that. This is a 36 volt bike, and it's probably somewhere around 350 watts. It might peak out at around 500. And I can tell you that with confidence. I have tested more than 150 bikes. That being said, it is what it is. This bike costs $279, and I even seen it on sale today for $249. So if you just want a little basic e-bike to get out on and zip around on, not super long rides, just for a little bit of fun, this could be the one for you. It's definitely comfortable to be on. It feels like it's supporting me just fine at 215 pounds. I would definitely recommend this bike for lighter weight riders, for some teens, and maybe if you're like 150, 175 pounds max. It is carrying me at 215 pounds though. The ride is comfortable here on this golf cart path. The bike does have a click bell if you need to let some people know you're coming. Still rolling 15 miles an hour here, no problem. And we did make it to town. That is where I'm going to turn around, start heading back the other way. The bike is nice and quiet. It doesn't have a geared hub motor, it has a speed motor on it, so this thing doesn't make any noise. So if you want to ride in complete silence and just get the wind in your face a little bit, this could be the bike for you. Super quiet bike, and the tires don't make any road noise either. The braking, while it was not super impressive on the stopping distance, the braking actually feels pretty good on this bike. I like the way that motor braking feels, and that drum brake up front doesn't make any noise. So even the braking is dead silent. Everything on this bike is silent. The motor, the tires, and the braking. There's just a slight little squeak in the suspension. That battery gauge is pretty hard to see. You pretty much got to cover it up to take a look at it. And also the bars drop down pretty fast. It's on the last battery bar, and it's been like that for quite a while now. So I think it does show voltage sag on this, because even though it's on the last battery bar, we're obviously still rolling out here. So I think the gauge is showing voltage sag. All right, we're rolling back into my area here. The battery on the bike is starting to get pretty weak. We're still moving, but it's not very brisk speed. All right, everyone, my final thoughts on the AYOLNY EB1C electric bike. It does fold, it is lightweight, it weighs like 49 pounds. It does have a tail light and a headlight on it, as well as a brake light. The lights are automatic, so they're supposed to come on after dark up in the front. I did see it come on in my garage, so I know it does work. The range of the bike was not super impressive. I've only put about 5 miles on the bike, and it's already getting pretty slow. The battery's already getting pretty weak. So don't buy this bike if you need to do long distances. So this is a real budget e-bike. It does look kind of cool. It's got some good looks to it. It does have the little glow in the dark sticker on it. I do like that on the side of the battery. That does glow in the dark at night. That is pretty cool. So it's a neat looking little bike, and it's going to be some fun to ride and just putz around your neighborhood area, stuff like that. I would not get this if you are trying to get some super long range out of the bike, because it only does have a 7.8 amp hour battery. I do think a rider that is about 100 pounds might actually get 15 miles of range out of this bike though. All right, everyone, if you need a small folding e-bike to have a little bit of fun on, this one rides nice and quiet, rides nice and smooth, and it does have a comfortable seat, and it can fit riders at least up to 6 foot tall. I was pretty comfortable on the bike myself. If you do like this bike, I will put the link for this bike in the description below the video. Please hit like and subscribe to the channel for more e-bikes and scooter content like this. I really do appreciate you guys watching. I will catch you in the next one.